Hello once again.
Hello.
What are you expecting today?
Something awesome?
Nice.
Yeah.
Let me just jump right in.
Okay.
March 27th, 1984, Ross Ulbricht is born in Austin, Texas. Ross grows up there for the most part, and he graduates from Westlake High School, which is kind of like on the outside of Austin, Texas. He graduates in 2002, and he's pretty all-star high school student. He's able to continue on with education. He attends University of Texas at Dallas and receives a full academic scholarship, graduates with a bachelor's degree in physics. He sounds like a smart kid, and he's like, I want to continue my education. So Ross goes to Penn State, or Pennsylvania State University, in short, Penn State, and he obtains a master's degree in material science, or I should say it's very specific name, crystallography. Crystallography, sorry.
Crystallography.
Crystallography, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he studies that. And what's interesting though is during his education, he starts kind of learning about different things outside of his program, right? He starts finding that he's interested in libertarian economic theory, certain types of political philosophy, such as it's called agorism. Agorism. Today's my pronunciation is not on point today.
Seems like you didn't sleep enough or something.
But that's pretty much like a philosophy that's based around free market and individual choice without so much government interference. So he becomes so passionate about this political philosophy that he gets in college debates discussing his economic views. But 2009, he graduates from Penn State and he moves back to Austin, Texas. And it's kind of like, okay, I've gone off, done my degrees. Now I'm gonna come back and see what I want to get involved in. He doesn't seem like he really wants to just jump into the workforce super fast, and he knows that he has that opportunity if he wants, right? So he's like, all right, what do I want to personally venture into? And the first thing he tries is day trading. He's like, let me give this a shot. Maybe I can make a lot of money, and it'll be a cool experience. Fortunately, that doesn't work, right? He's not as successful. He's like, man, people make it look easy. No, it's actually harder than I thought. But maybe the next thing, I find that I really love video games. Maybe I can create some kind of video game company. And this could be awesome. But he also finds that,
It's not easy.
it's not very easy. And he's like, okay, this is not something I can continue with. But he links up with an old friend of his. His friend is Donnie Palmer Tree. And Donnie and him create an online book selling website. They call it Good Wagon Books, right? Donnie's like, hey, internet's somewhat still fresh, right? Maybe we can create a bookstore and make a little passive income this way. But it's not really picking up. It's not really doing that much, right? It's like, we're getting some clients here and there. So Donnie's like, listen, dude, I'm gonna go ahead and move back to Dallas, right? You can keep the website. I don't really care about it too much. Go ahead and keep it. I'm gonna go ahead and move back where my family is and pursue something there. It's like, okay, that's fine, dude. So Ross is still working with this website. He's like, I don't really care too much about it. But he starts thinking about a different idea during this time. And he's sketching it up, and on top of his notebook he writes underground brokers, right? And he starts thinking of because I'm kind of into the e-commerce space right now, even though I'm just selling books. I'm still in the e-commerce space, and I haven't forgotten about my political philosophy, right? So there has to be a way that I can merge these two together. So this is where he starts outlining what underground brokers would be. But then he starts thinking further about this idea. And this kind of derives him to think of an even better name, a more suitable name for this. And he says, I can call it the Silk Road. I mean, it's similar to how in, Asia, in the past, they had this place called the Silk Road where people could trade, and so many networks were set up through this avenue. Maybe I can do something similar, but just digitally. So by 2011, Ross sets this website up, but he's like, okay, if I just set it up as a normal website, I feel like it won't have, it will still be kind of restricted in some way. I want this to be a marketplace where you set the rules, basically, like the consumer has the power in their hands, right? So he sets it up as an onion service on the Tor network, which basically implements data encryption and routes traffic through servers to basically make it like the source and destination of the IP address is anonymous, to kind of put it more simply. So through this route, you can't really find out who's behind the website, right? It's not super easy to locate, oh, this person's in Phoenix, Arizona, or this person's in Salt Lake City. It's not so easy. And he's like, okay, so this is set up well, but now we have to figure out a way to enable transactions to be done. So what should we use? So I can't use USD. I mean, that's exactly the opposite of what I'm looking to do with my website. Bitcoin. Maybe I can use Bitcoin and establish that as the sole currency for the website, right? I mean, with Bitcoin, we can use a blockchain. And with blockchain, I mean, you can basically make people anonymous as they're completing these transactions. It would be great if we were to use blockchain and Bitcoin. So let's fast forward a little bit. By March 2013, the site has like 10,000 products for sale by vendors. Approximately 30% of the website consists of apparel, art, books, cigarettes, erotica, jewelry, and writing services. 70% of the website, however, consist of drugs. And these drugs were, like a number of them were like stimulants, psychedelics, prescriptions, precursors, opioids, ecstasy, steroids, PEDs, disassociatives, and like there are fake driver's licenses that you can also purchase on here. Most of the products are delivered through mail, and you can even receive like a seller guide basically instructing you how to vacuum seal the products to escape detection, so it can travel anywhere. No one will know what it is just by looking at the package or box, right? So it's like it's pretty good, right? I mean, on the website, there's even like a reviewer seller, or there's like a reviewer's description,
and this
right?
guy like knew his website was being used like this.
This is, well, he wants to encourage people to have freedom, a free market. So if it's like, well, if people want it, okay.
Did he build it alone?
Well, no.
Okay.
You didn't build it alone.
Okay, but
yeah.
he wanted the freedom.
Right. That's exactly. It's connecting both the e-commerce
space. He didn't see this
space.
as being like risky. Like it's not good generally for the general public.
Well, I'm going to go into details about some limitations he wanted to enforce on the website. Because right now it seems like, man, you would just allow any and everything to be sold. But no, there were some items that they were like, no, you just simply can't sell these things. And they kind of classified them.
And who was advising the people on how to seal the stuff so that they're not detectable?
They did. As you can basically classified as the company, the people behind the website, they did. But I mean, they kind of classified the items that you couldn't sell. If they were used primarily for harm or defrauding someone, you couldn't do it. So for example, child pornography. They're like, no, you can't sell that here. Stolen credit cards, no. If you're looking to hire someone to assassinate people, no, can't do it here. And weapons of any kind, like, I don't know, missiles or something. That's just not going to happen here. You can't do that here. But to kind of summarize this whole business, or for this whole website from the inception, the inception date is looked at as February 6, 2011. And if we were to look at that from, let's say, July 23rd, 2013, there's approximately 1 million transactions that are completed on this website. by this time, like within this time frame. And the total revenue generated is 9 million Bitcoin. And the total commissions collected by Silk Road is 614,000 Bitcoin. And to kind of convert that amount, it's like that's like total of 1.2 billion and 146,000 buyers and 3,000 vendors. A lot of numbers there, but yeah, I mean, those numbers kind of prove to you that hey, this is it's well, it's doing very good. This is something that is successful, right? And you can kind of, I'm sure maybe someone could question and say, man, I mean, you're dealing with a lot of illegal stuff, both from the buyer and the seller. How are you able to obtain the trust of these people engaging in this stuff? And one of the ways that the admin behind Silk Road utilized is basically how they handle transactions. They handle transactions very well. So for example, say you were to purchase something on their website, your like a buyer's Bitcoin is held in escrow until the order has basically been received. It's utilized as a hedging mechanism that allows sellers to opt for the value of Bitcoin held in escrow to be fixed to their value in USD at the time of sale. I know that's very complicated.
So literally you can't receive the Bitcoin until you have made the delivery. It's held in between, and the other person can't take it until the whole process is complete.
Right. And also, it's like, imagine Bitcoin's like fluctuating. It was fluctuating since it started, basically, right? So what they took it upon themselves to do is, all right, you did purchase this for 5 Bitcoin. We will hold that. So even if it fluctuates to a point where this would technically be 10 Bitcoin now, we will cover that difference. So it's like, it's how they're handling the transactions that helps increase that trust level. But it's like at the height of their success, a drug agency investigator infiltrates the site.
Yeah, because I'm like, where is the government here? Illegal things are happening. Yeah, I'm like,
you're wondering when this is.
Yeah, no one knew this was happening or what, because word would have gone around. Like, all those buyers and sellers. No, word
gets around.
Yes.
Yeah, word gets around. Well, this drug agency investigator infiltrates the website and he becomes an admin on the website, which being an admin on any website gives you significant power, right? So he's able to gain information and site operation information. He finds Ross's chat history and it shows Pacific time on every single one of his posts. Pacific time lets them know you're in the West Coast, right? That lets them know, like that helps them narrow down a location of where Ross is at. Law enforcement seizes a server tied to Silk Road in Iceland, right? And they get more chat log history from that. And Ross, throughout the time of operating Silk Road, he's, in some of the forums, he's known as Dread Pirate Roberts. That's like a nickname, right? And they are able to connect this nickname, well, I should say, Gary Alford connected this nickname to Ross. It's like through another connection, basically. Another username connection called Altoid was utilized in the early days of Silk Road. Because at this time, Ross was looking for some programming help, some programming assistance on how to build this website to work so well. And so that username was tied to Ross, right? And during him requesting help, he provided his user or his email address. His email address had his full name in it. So then they were like, basically it's like, all right, A leads to B, B leads to C, right? So they were able to tie that Dread Pirate Roberts username to Ross, kind of utilizing that outlet there. So by October 1st, 2013, an investigation, like they're ready to arrest this guy at this point. Like if they can...
And he didn't know all of this was happening.
He did not know all of this was happening.
But how did he run such a company and not even pay attention to who they are hiring, because this guy infiltrated and became an admin.
See, I think it's worth researching more on how exactly he was able to infiltrate this. But because it's not fair to say that he wasn't attentive enough. Ross wasn't attentive enough. No. To be able to do this kind of thing, even for like longer than a year, you've definitely thought these things out. And you're talking about doing this with people throughout the world. So if you're able to establish such a secretive but money-making website like this, you're doing a lot of right things at the same time, right? Like it's like you have that small thing that could just lead you to being caught, right? And you see, I explained how the names were tied to, right? So
you're
now
going
that's
to
like
make mistakes somewhere.
Right. So exactly. So now they're like, okay, we know this person by name. Now we can at least make the attempt to bring him in. So by October 1st, investigators arrest Ross at Glen Park branch of the San Francisco Public Library. And how they were able to do that was they basically acted like, they had some investigators act like they were a couple. And they were arguing really, really bad. They were like getting, just trying to get Ross's attention because they didn't want to approach him, and then he quickly deletes the files or something. So they're like, we have to gain access to that laptop, right? We have to gain access to those files. So as they distracted Ross, they quickly move in to arrest him, basically. And another agent quickly grabs the laptop and they insert a flash drive into that laptop immediately. And that flash drive is able to retrieve those files on there. So let's fast forward just a tad bit, just a little bit. So by February 4th, 2014, Ross is charged with engaging in continuing criminal enterprise, narcotics conspiracy, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and conspiracy to commit computer hacking. By August 21st, 2014, a superseding indictment added 3 additional charges. By February 4th, 2015, Ross is convicted on all counts after a jury trial that took place January 2015. By May 29, 2015, Ross is sentenced to double life imprisonment plus 40 years without the possibility of parole. Ross is also ordered to pay $183 million in restitution based on the total sales of illegal drugs and counterfeit IDs through Silk Road.
What?
Yes.
Wait, I have a question. So when he made this money, because of course he was making money and he was the big boss, was he living lavishly or was he just living just a normal regular?
The thing is that I would say this is something that we can research more, but I highly doubt that he's going to give that information
to be out there like
yes, that. Because there are other interviews with him where he doesn't really want to engage in telling so much, because then you start opening up the door for other people's identities to be compromised.
Oh, so he was the only person who was arrested?
No. No, he wasn't.
Who else was arrested?
Okay, so we're gonna have to backtrack just a little bit, right? To make sense of the other arrest or the other attempts by the other people involved, right? So November 6th.
I also have a question after you.
Go ahead.
Let me ask first. What did he say during this whole court session? Did he say oh, I'm sorry, or what was his?
Well, one thing that so I don't know all of what he said, but I know one thing that he was really against and is still against. He believes that he was overcharged. He doesn't believe that his sentencing was right. To be given double imprisonment plus 40 years for
double lifetime.
Yeah, double life imprisonment plus 40 years. And this money that you have to pay back. He's saying, I didn't kill anybody.
But you
why am I being charged like this?
I think they're thinking that he facilitated he was the go-to.
Well, they did. They classified him as the mastermind behind this website. So they're saying, no, you're right. You weren't the only admin. You weren't the only one, or you probably weren't doing the programming alone, or you didn't do this or do that always. But
I think the idea came from
you are in the center of it all.
Yeah, the idea came from
If you fall out, everything
Everyone
else falls out. So we have to really set the stage with you, unfortunately, right? What do you think? Are you on his side? Or are you kind of like agreeing that, hey, like,
No, I think the way I said it from the beginning, like it's crazy, like selling all those drugs and whatnot. That's too much. But also, I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of time, and
right.
Yeah, he and they're trying to set an example, understandable, which is okay.
Right.
Because even if he did not directly do it or deny it, he facilitated it. Let's say someone died from an overdose. Over 1 million people probably used this thing. What if those million, like even 100,000 people died?
Absolutely.
So it's fair enough. And it was short-lived.
Very short-lived.
Yeah, that was.
I mean,
it's like showing that bad deeds.
But in a way, if you're talking about the dark web space, that is actually a long life. Dark websites do not live 2 years like that. They don't. Like, and you're talking about producing that much, revenue. Like you're getting that much money. So that was actually, and I'm not trying to, of course, I'm not encouraging this, but if you're looking at the dark web space, this is a very influential site to a lot of people, right? Because it was so successful in such a short period of time, and it lived for quite some time. In the back of his
head, didn't he feel guilt or?
No, because he believed in that philosophy, right? Like, so, in other words, it would be different if he's saying, hey, sell drugs on here. You're trying to sell art? No. Bring me some drugs. Oh, you're trying to sell some, pornographic magazine? No. Bring me drugs, right? No. He was trying to just create a free market, ultimately.
But if he was trying to create a free market, also, I think 2 life sentences?
So you're saying you don't agree with that?
I agree, but also I'm like, see... Even killers attempt, they're just given 30 years, and you're like, you killed someone.
Right, you killed someone, and you're only given 30 years.
Yeah. But this person,
I think they had to... Because alright, so when you get the killer in custody, you have him. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, unless they have like some crazy wild connections, for the most part, you've stopped the killings of person X. This... You're opening up the gate for so many more crimes to be, or so many more illegal things to be done, right? Like, okay, what if the following year they say, well, all right, assassinations aren't that bad. I mean, maybe the people are trying to assassinate are actually not good people, so you just allow them to do it.
Or send the profile. Let's see if this person is.
Yeah, we'll make the ultimate decision, right? All right, you want to assassinate, you have to send the people that you want to assassinate to us. We'll review the profile, and then we'll get you your decision back in about 5 business days.
Yeah.
Like, this is just opening the floodgates to something so bad.
Yeah.
So you almost have to set an example. Like, hey, if you want to do this, we will make sure you do double the time. Literally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's tough to say, right?
Yeah, but tell me the rest of the people who are caught.
All right, so let's backtrack a little bit. So November 6, 2013, some of the admin from, because at this point, right, the website's being cracked down upon, right? Silk Road, the original version's like, okay, it's dying, right? The government has seized it. So the admin from that website say, we need to relaunch this. Let's try to relaunch it somewhere else. So they, foolishly, in a way, they use Dread Pirate Roberts again. Like, they use Ross's nickname, which is kind of like passed around, basically. But anyhow, they use that to launch Silk Road 2.0. using the Tor network once again. And it still had like the original website setup, but it had improved security on there, right? They're like, okay, let's try to improve the security, make it to where it won't be super easy to penetrate this. Yeah. So they did take precaution on distributing the encrypted copies of the site's source code to allow the site to be quickly recreated in the event of another shutdown. So yeah, in case this 2.0 version gets taken down, we can just quickly hop over somewhere else, right? Because I mean, you're familiar with how the Tor network works. A lot of people are. It's very simple to just jump on another onion, basically another onion URL, right? With a very distinguishable, unique URL. By December 2013, it's announced that 3 of the admin that created Silk Road 2.0 were arrested.
Where were they?
So I would have to do further research.
No, were they like, because initially you said that he's working with people from all over the world.
Yes.
So where were the admins at? In the States?
So regarding these people, there aren't many details that were provided about where they were located at the time of their arrest or what nationality they are. But I mean, their names are kind of giveaways. I mean, Andrew Michael Jones and Gary Davis sounds somewhat like American names, right? And basically around this time of these 3 arrests, the website is seized again, basically, and all the activities frozen. But another admin under the screen name DEFCON takes over, and he promises to bring the website back, like basically put the website back together and make this happen again. People are not giving up. You can clearly see that when you have money in an illegal space, people will try their hardest to keep it alive, right? Like this lets you know that, right? So, or unfortunately, by February 2014, DEFCON announces that the escrow accounts have been compromised through a vulnerability in the Bitcoin protocol, which basically means their funds were stolen. Their funds.
Now they don't have funds to keep the website going.
And it's basically due to like a vulnerability in the site's refresh deposits function. It's like if you keep clicking on something, like you'll be able to get money out of it still, basically. It's like a vulnerability in that sense, right? And I mean, the admin at this time, Silk Road in general, is pretty much broke. So by November 6, 2014, authorities announced the arrest of Blake Benthal, who is basically the alleged owner and operator of Silk Road 2.0. And they also arrest an English from the UK, an English computer programmer by the name of Thomas White. He's arrested during the shutdown, and this was not made public until 2019 when they finally sentenced him for 5 years in prison. And Thomas White, he was also planning on opening or starting another website revealing chat logs between police, and he also had plans to upload child pornography onto that website. So these are some of the
programmer.
That was the English programmer. There are some other identities that I think are also somewhat important to read about as well. Not too much information is provided about these individuals, but they are also credited for the uprise in building Silk Road. Verity Jones, Verity Jones, joined Silk Road in 2011 as a marijuana seed vendor. And there's another individual by the name of Smedley. That's
even the vendors were arrested.
Well, if they were able to find a close enough connect and you were able to be caught essentially, they're gonna take you down too. I think the people who weren't arrested were definitely probably people who were trying to sell art, things like that on there, or people that you just couldn't even find the identities of. right? It wasn't super easy to track them. But Verity Jones was basically, or he's acting as the penetration tester, financial advisor, and mentor for Ross during these operations of Silk Road. And Smedley was the coder behind some of the work of Silk Road. And it's like reported that Smedley, it seemed that through like chats, Smedley was taking orders from Verity Jones a lot. Like it seemed that Smedley was under Verity Jones. And the identity of Smedley hasn't been provided, it seems. But people have kind of linked Smedley's identity with a web developer that's living in Thailand. And Verity Jones is believed to be Roger Thomas Clark, a Canadian living in Thailand. Clark, he since has been arrested in Thailand and he faced extradition to the United States. He's sentenced for 20 years, or he was sentenced for 20 years in prison.
Yeah, but things, if you want to go down that road, I think they have to be like mentally prepared that, okay, this can go down anytime.
I feel like if you jump into something like this, you have to jump in and out.
Oh, I think you shouldn't even jump in.
No, of course not. I'm not saying I would jump in at all.
There is no in between.
I'm saying,
just stay out of it.
If you're going to jump into this.
But even if you do in and out, and even if 20 years down the line they see a username and that username is connected to, and they will still get you. So don't jump in.
No, I mean, of course you, at that point,
you
always
pay for
have
it.
Of course you have to like always look out, right?
This
and your life
is
is basically changed for good, right? Even if you just jump in and out, right? Because you can't just meet people now, right? That person ultimately could become the person that tells the authorities who you are. You can't just, I don't know, apply for jobs and live a normal life. Like, these things lead to one thing. So you kind of have to, after getting your money, you have to completely almost fall off the planet of the earth.
The government will ask you, where did you get this money?
That's why it's not even worth this whole
that's
it's not worth it.
Don't jump in. Like, because now you'll start getting investigated. Oh, you're spending this much. Where is your money coming
Yes, it's
from?
not worth it. I know. I agree with you.
Yeah, as in, this is just deadly.
So remember when I told you that they had their website compromised and all of their funds were taken? So I'm interested in reading that part too and telling you about the individual who did it.
Okay.
So James Jimmy Chung is a Chinese American individual, and he basically manages to conceal his identity through all of this. But all the while, after when he steals this Bitcoin, he's living a nice life. Remember when I told you, Ross? Well, I don't know if he's lived a nice life. Jimmy is living it up. He's making sure he's on boats. He's partying with beautiful women, right? He's making sure of that. But the way he was able to obtain such an amount of Bitcoin from them was he found an error in Silk Road that basically allows him to withdraw more funds than what was initially deposited. And going back on the double click, it was like, the way that this was set up was if you repeatedly double click the withdraw button, you're able to get more funds. So his identity, like 10 years passes. He's doing, he's living his life. He's a Bitcoin billionaire because he stole that much, right?
So it's just a thief.
And people are saying, dude, how did you, I understand you went to University of Georgia and all, but dude, a degree's not going to just get you this much money. Are you kidding me? We would all be like this.
I know.
What did you do to get this? Right? And he's like, well, you have to understand, I've been in Bitcoin. I mined thousands of Bitcoin back when it was just starting off.
That's what they always say.
Right? So trust me, it's not like it's illegal or anything. I just know what I'm doing with Bitcoin. I knew this for a long time. But 2019 rolls around, Jimmy makes a mistake. He attempts to transfer a small amount of Bitcoin to a crypto exchange. And this crypto exchange follows a certain rule. It's called Know Your Customer rules. And that basically compromises his identity to the IRS. They're able to track Jimmy down. And by November 9, 2021, a raid of Jimmy's property happens in Gainesville, Georgia. And that's when they seize over 3.36 billion Bitcoin.
How much is that?
Or actually, I should say 50,676 Bitcoin, which converts to $3.36 billion. Jimmy cooperates though. He's like, okay, I'll cooperate. So, guess what? He serves 1 year in prison.
So being a thief and enjoying
He serves 1 year in prison
and gives out
for wire fraud.
And just gives out all the money to the government.
That money was actually, because remember I told you that for Ross, like there's a number of years he has to serve, but then there's also money that has to be paid. So in 2021, Ross's prosecutors in defense agree that Ross should relinquish any ownership of any newly discovered fund, which basically means that the money that was stolen
can be used
to pay down, like some of it can be used to pay down that amount that he was supposed to make the payment of.
Did they say yes to that?
Yes, the government did agree to use the funds to pay back all of that $180 million in debt. So, yeah.
So you just go into debt for the government because you did something that you shouldn't have been doing while you're supposed to pay this debt while in prison.
Yes.
How are you supposed to pay it?
The thing is, they're expecting you to have this money to make the payment.
If I don't have the money,
then guess what? You're already serving the sentencing and you will never get out anyway.
Yeah, let me just serve the sentence. I'm not going to pay you back. Why should I pay you and you're already sentencing me to 2 lifetimes? I would rather let that money stay somewhere locked up. I will not release it. I will not. I will go and find something, make sure my whole family or whoever lives well, but I will not give it to you. I'm going to be serving 2 lifetimes.
But you can't forget, I mean, don't you think if you were to try to, I don't know,
they said no parole.
Yeah, but they said
they said there will not be any parole. You have to keep that in mind. So what's the need of giving back or paying for what? Actually, they will have mercy on you. There is no mercy. They already showed it to you during the trial. That's it. So, did Ross never mention someone's name during the investigation or during the time he was arrested?
No.
Ooh. He was a solid one. Did they have a brotherhood pact or what? He said, "Oh no, I'm not going to snitch or something."
Yes. He didn't. No, he didn't snitch.
So yeah, that one was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was different.
Yeah, was it something you were expecting?
It was different. At least no one got brutally murdered.
Yeah, brutally murdered.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a good one. So I don't even know what to say, but yeah, I guess until next time. So we'd say until next time, we'll see you again.